Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. In the penitentiary, you better find you a hustle. You better find a hustle to be able to make it through this, right? Because most people, after 5 years, the family, friends, or whatever, they start to fall off. You know, so if you got more than 5 years, you better find your way to survive this because ain't nobody giving you nothing. Ain't nothing for free in here. A lot of people in here, they take up the legal game as their hustle, right? You got a lot of guys that spend every waking hour in the law library or checking out books from the law library, and they become very knowledgeable about the law. They can tell you all the ins and outs. And surprisingly though, quick note, a lot of those guys that I know, I've only met 2 people out of those guys that I know that have been able to get themselves out of prison. I'm sure there are more, but I've only met 2. But anyway, back to the story. This story is about a guy named Frank. And Frank was one of the smartest individuals when it came to this law. He could take your case, break it down. Once he gets your transcripts, break that thing down and tell you all of the violations that were made during your trial, if you went to trial, right? And if you pled guilty to it, he could find a reason to get you a post-conviction and get you back into court and maybe get you a second go-around at it and get your sentence reduced. This guy was smart. He was very, very smart. There was this other guy that he came into the penitentiary. His name was Ron. Ron was a solid dude, but he got caught up, right? He ended up in a domestic situation, and he ended up harming somebody. He shot somebody to protect his girlfriend. Even though his girlfriend was cheating on him, he found himself, in the same place that they were, at a restaurant, and they were, having dinner and all this and that. Things got heated. The dude smacked Ron. Ron pulled out that thing and popped it, dropped it. Fortunately, he didn't die, okay? We all should be happy about that. But that didn't stop him from pressing charges against Ron. Not one bit. And to make matters worse, the DA decided that Ron's girlfriend was going to be charged as an accessory. Because the guy that got shot, he started to spread this rumor to the police that they set him up. Because, let me tell you why. His wife wanted to know why he was there. He tried to tell her it was about business. But anyway, it was a messy situation. Now, Ron is in jail and his girlfriend is too. Both of them locked up. Trying to make bond, can't make bond. They just don't have the money. They got charged with attempted murder. She's panicking because she didn't do anything other than, like I said, she was having an affair, right? She told the DA the whole story. The DA's not buying it because they were very, very discreet. They never met at a hotel. They spend most of the time in the backseat of the car, right? The places that they park the car to have their little tryst at, no cameras. They can't verify it. And this is before the GPS and all this and that, where they could track where you were at and all of these different types of things, right? They were not able to prove, listen to me, she was not able to prove that they were having an affair, right? Not able to prove it. So the DA is going with the victim's story that he didn't know who she was. She set him up for a robbery. You know what I'm saying? And as unbelievable as that may sound, it stuck. Ron pushed the issue. Both of them did. She was not pleading guilty to anything, and he wasn't either, because he said it was self-defense. So they went to trial, and the jury popped them down. Popped them. Sent both of them off to the penitentiary for a long time. Long time. I think Ron got more than she did. I'm going to say, let's say Ron got 30, you know what I'm saying, and she got 25. Something like that, right? It was something like that. I'm not exactly sure of the amount of time, but it was something like that, right? And it was all going to be at 100%. That's the kicker here, right? That's a long time to be gone from the streets when you say you were defending yourself and your girl, and then for her to be gone long like that, and she's like, she didn't do anything. She did not set this man up, so she was pissed about it, right? So when they got to the penitentiary, Ron met Frank. And Frank had been keeping up with the story on TV. That's how a lot of the inmate lawyers do. They watch TV to see who's coming to prison so they can already be prepared, right? And pop their game on. So when Frank was sitting in the law library, Ron, he's already been told, man, you know, go to the law library. Everybody be coming to the penitentiary, right? Back in the day, first thing you get from the old heads, man, look at, get in that law library. Fight this. You know what I'm saying? Fight the case. Don't just lay down and take it. So Ron is in that law library. He taking care of being there. So Frank, he recognizes him from TV. So he walks over there to him and he tells me, he said, look, man, I saw your case on TV, man. I can help you. So Ron is looking at him like, oh, really? But he's skeptical because, you know, he had a few family members been in the penitentiary and they told him, look here, man, you kind of got to be careful up in there. A lot of guys run the game on you, whatever they may be. So he's like, how can you help me? So Frank started hitting him off with the case, facts of the case that they had on TV. And he's sitting there amazed, how does he know this about my case, right? And Frank said, look, I watched it on TV, man. When I saw that on TV and they charged you, I said, man, that can't be true. He said, I already got some stuff I've been preparing, depending on what you tell me, how we can fight this case. He said, I can help you and your wife, which, you know, is rare. So Ron is looking at him. He's looking at him. He's trying to size him up, and he tells me, he said, look, I'm going to say this one time. Don't play with me about my freedom. Don't play with me about my girl's freedom. We're trying to get out of the penitentiary, man. I don't deserve to be here. Frank looks at him. He said, man, I believe the same thing. I don't believe you deserve to be here too, man. If you give me the opportunity, I'm going to help you. Ron looks back at him. He says, what's it going to cost? Now, look, check this out. That's when Frank sits down, pulls the chair out, and for a brief second, he turns his face away from Ron, right? And he don't see that Frank got that little grin on his face like, yeah, I got it. Just like a fish on a hook, right? And he sits down and he turns his head back toward Ron. He said, look, man, this is what I'm going to do. He said, if you get a lawyer, it's going to cost you way more than what I'm about to tell you. But I'm telling you, man, I can take care of this, right? I'm worth it. Ask anybody on the compound. He said, man, forget all that. Tell me how much it's going to cost. Frank looks at him. He said, man, I'm going to charge you $500. I'm going to charge you $500. And he said, I'm going to get you out the penitentiary. And I ain't going to tell you, I can't guarantee what day it's going to be. But he said, you got to bear with me because they try to stall and all this and that. And I'll show you everything that I'm doing. But I'm going to fight this case until you get out of here. You're not going to do them 30 years. He said, and I'll charge you $500 for your gab. So Ron looked at it. And he said, look, man, let me talk to my moms about it. Let me make a call and see what's going on. He said, no, don't be talking about that on the phone. See, that's the first lesson that Ron learned. Don't be discussing the business on the phone because we're not supposed to be able to do business with each other in the penitentiary. It's called unauthorized financial transaction, right? And you can get gigged for that. You feel what I'm saying? That's a disciplinary. Don't want that. So he tells him, he said, well, look, wait till your mama come to visit. So Ron write his mom a letter and tell her, you know what I'm saying, as soon as she gets the opportunity, she needs to come to visit because he's got something very important he needs to talk to her about. So it takes a little bit for her to get approved to get on his visitation list, but when she does, she's there. Ron is up in the VG, he's telling his mom all the things that Frank had told him. And she was like, baby, we got to do whatever we got to do to get up out of here. I got you. He's like, no, I got the money. I got the money. I don't need you to pay for it, mama. I'm going to pay for it. I just want to know what you think. And she said, well, I've talked to some lawyers, and they're talking about way more than this. She said, have you found anybody in here that can vouch for dude? And Ron had been asking around, and he had been asking quite a few people, and a lot of people said, man, dude is good. Dude is good. But here's another thing about the business in the penitentiary, right? Most of the time, if people don't know you, they don't tell you the full story, right? They got to know you, right? Because they understand that it's a hustle, right? That Frank, this is his hustle, and they don't want to get into business like that. People don't get in other people's business like that. You feel what I'm saying? So they didn't tell Ron that, you know, he's good, but you got to watch him. You got to watch him. They don't tell him that. So he tells his mom, yeah, I done checked him out. Everybody say he's straight. He good at it. So she was like, okay, where's the money at? And he told her where to go in his room and get the money, you know what I'm saying? He kept a room at the house. You feel what I'm saying? He kept his money hidden. So she goes, when the visit ends, they have a good visit, you know what I'm saying? And when she gets home, she goes to the room, she gets the money, and he had already given her the address to send to Frank's people. But when Ron went back into the penitentiary after the visit, he told Frank, he said, man, look here, I'm going to have the money sent to you. It's going to take a couple of days because it's going to be sent through the mail. Right? And he said, no, just call your mom and tell her to send it through Western Union. Right? She already got the information. See, that's what we did back in the day, Western Union. Some of y'all probably ain't never heard of Western Union. But that's why I used to move money around. You know what I mean? So he gets on the phone. He said, Mama, don't worry about putting it in the mail. Do it through Western Union. You already got the information. She said, I got you. He said, how long is it going to take? She said, I'm going to go do it tonight. See, Western Union used to stay up all day and night, y'all. You feel? Wasn't like Cash App. See, Cash App you can do on the phone and all that kind of stuff y'all got today. That was our version of Cash App back in the day. They stayed open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, round the clock. Money moving all over the world, y'all. So she took care of the business that night. He told Frank, man, have your people check. The next morning, Frank come to him. He said, man, I got the money, man. I'm ready to get started. He said, let me get the full transcript. Ron gave him the full transcript. Right? Because they had, listen to me, the good thing about that, because he was helping Ron and his gal, was that they went to trial together. They didn't separate. So the transcript could help deal with both of them situation. They were identical. So he went to work. And he started to see some things in the case immediately, matching up with what he had been watching on TV. And he steps to Ron. He tells Ron, he said, look, I could help your wife easier than I can help you. He said, she going to probably end up getting out before you. She going to end up getting out before you. He said, don't worry about that. He said, man, whatever it takes, go on and get her out. You know what I'm saying? Frank's still working on the case. He take care of the business. He get the first petitions drafted up, you know what I'm saying, for a new trial, based on this and based on that. And he sends them in. Immediately, they hear back, you know what I'm saying, Ron's wife hears back from the courts, saying that she had a court appearance. Ron did too. She didn't know what was going on because he had wrote it and told her, he said, I got somebody looking into it, but she didn't expect it to be that fast. She don't know nothing about this. She don't know nothing about none of this, right? So they end up in court. They end up in court at the same time, and they wouldn't let them talk to each other, but they could look at each other, right? But when they put them in the holding tanks, they were separated, but they could talk. And they were talking, and he was telling her, like, everything's going to be all right. She was crying, nervous, and not understanding what was going on. She said, I'm sorry that I got you into this. And he told her, it's over with now. We're not going to worry about that. We got to fight to get out. We'll deal with that another time. He loved her, but he was still suspicious of her because it's like, if not for her, you know what I'm saying, none of this would have happened. But he don't want to rub that in her face. Not now. You feel me? Not now. So he tells her, he said, look, you probably going to beat me out. He said, but I need you to hold me down when you get out. She said, I got you. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. So they go back in now. They pull him back in, they bring him back into the courtroom, and they're talking to the judge, and the judge rules on her motion. And he said, it looks like I'm gonna have to grant you a hearing on this here and give you a new trial. And he told Ron, he said, I gotta take a better look at yours, and I'll be making a ruling in a due time. He didn't give him a date. So they will take him back to the penitentiary, the separate penitentiaries and all this, and then they were writing, they were happy because she was hearing good news, and Ron was like, okay, it don't look that bad. Dude must be the real deal, Holyfield. So when he gets back to the penitentiary, Ron talking to Frank and telling him everything that the judge said, and Ron was like, I knew it. He got to respect this. He got to respect this. Talking himself up, right? So Ron said, look, man, if everything work out, man, I'm going to throw you something else. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, nah, you good, man. He said, but look, I need your gal to keep her mouth shut. Everything is going to be good. Just stay aware of what's going on, right? He said, here, give her my address. Tell her to write me so I can let her know what's going on with her case separate from yours. That way, you ain't just got to do it when you go to court. Ron ain't thinking nothing about that. He's looking at Frank like a lawyer. She needs to be able to communicate with him. You feel me? So he gives him the information. Besides, he's already warned him, don't play with me. Do not play with me. You feel what I'm talking about, y'all? So he trusts the situation. He gives him the information. He writes her. It's all official. It's all a personal thing. You know what I mean? Professional thing, nothing personal. Telling her who he is and what he's going to do and all this and that and how she going to be free and stay strong and, you know what I'm saying? And Ron's a good guy and all this and that. Talking it all up like that there, right? She writes him back real short and brief. Thank you for the help. You know what I'm saying? Tell my man I love him. And that was the end of it. See, that pissed Frank off. She ain't say nothing to me other than thank you. I'm finna help her get out the penitentiary. That's all she got to say. So he kept that stored in the back of his cranium, right? Let that animosity build up. And he continued to go to work. About 2.5 years in, guess what? The courts threw her case out. Dismissed it, right? Dismissed it. But the state got the right to appeal it. Now she's out on the streets. She done got a job, going back to work, doing this and that. You know, they wouldn't let her come and visit Ron, but he calling her every day, and she's just happy. She holding it down, sending him money, all of these different types of things. But Frank is still working. He's still working on Ron's case. He going to work, you know what I'm saying, putting it down, and Ron is going back and forth to court. They fighting it because they don't want to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying, that it might be self-defense. Ain't no self-defense law in Tennessee, but you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, they going back and forth doing their thing, right? Back in the day, it was hard up in them courts. Hard. So here's the thing. In the meantime, in between time, Frank is still getting things from the court concerning Ron's wife, because she's getting them, and because the state is appealing it. So she was sending them straight to Frank, you know, because that's how it was set up. So he's writing her back, telling her this and telling her that and all this and that, what could happen and all this and that. And if it does happen, they put her back in the penitentiary. He got her. Everything's going to work out fine. Woo, this, that, and the third, and all this and that, right? And guess what happened? Guess what happened? Frank getting ready to go for parole, y'all. He getting ready to go for parole. And he is so good with the law. Listen to me. This stuff happens. I know y'all might not believe it. This stuff happens. He is so good with that law. Right? And got so many people in court and got their cases, you know what I'm saying, looked at again by judges and stuff like that, that the law firm that he gets a lot of his research material from and that he talks to a lot, they offered him a job as a paralegal. Oh, he got his paralegal license, y'all. I didn't mention that. They offer him a job when he get out as a paralegal. They come to the parole board here and speak on his behalf and all this and that. And guess what? Free at last, free at last. Old Frank is free at last. They granted him parole. And he walks out. And he goes to work for that law firm as a paralegal. Now he's living the life. He's walking in circles that he never imagined that he would walk in. And he's helping a lot of people. And he's still helping Ron's wife and Ron. Still helping. All right? Now, she gets some stuff back from the court, like I said. And the state is talking about they want her put back into custody, you know what I'm saying, during the appeal. The judge said, no, we're going to wait until the rulings come down to see what happens. So she's still on the streets, right? I might have jumped the gun on y'all, but she's still on the streets when Frank gets out, okay? Now follow me, stick with me. She's still on the streets. Everything is working out. She thinks she's not going to go back to the penitentiary. Frank is telling her that. They've been talking on the phone, but he said, we need to meet and strategize. You know what I'm saying? He said, my mom never going to take me out to this steakhouse. Could you meet us there? So she takes her parents with her, and they meet at the steakhouse. And it's like he said his parents were there and her parents were there, and they were sitting there talking and all this and that. And he wanted to talk to her in private. So he got her from the table and asked her to walk with him, you know what I'm saying? And so he could talk to her in private about the case like he's some big-time lawyer. He's just a paralegal. Even though they're important, they're super important. They do most of the work. But he's making himself be way more than what he really is, right? So he walks away with her and he's telling her, look, this is what it's got to be. If you want me to continue to help you, well, let me tell you this. If you want to hear what he told her, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? You think you know what I'm going to say, but you're not sure. You're going to have to tune in to see. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I'll say peace, y'all.